Yeah.
Here.
In 1999, of course, I was employed with a firm called Prudential Securities. And at that point, they hired Ed Keon as their quantitative analyst. And of course, I went up and greeted him and welcomed him to the firm and all. And shortly thereafter, Ed was having a major conference in Boston. And he asked me to speak at an evening dinner meeting with his attendees. It was a conference that lasted several days, so I guess they just needed a talking head one night. And I said to him, "Sure, you sure you want me, Ed, a technician at a quant conference?" He said, no, we'd like to have that. So I called Andy Lowe. Andy Lowe is a professor at MIT. Now, Andy Lowe, 10 years before that, in 1889, invited me up to his school, MIT, to talk a little bit about technical analysis. And like every good professor, he was always crying that he needed something. Now, you remember in those days, market data, pricing data was difficult to get. Clean data. By that, I mean you take out all the bad traits. You got to have clean data to do your research. So in response to his request, I was able to call members of the Market Technicians Association, Bob Farrell at Merrill Lynch, Alan Shaw, my old boss at Smith Barney, and they gave Andy all the data that he needed to do all his research. And here it is, 10 years later, I called up Andy. I said, "Andy, you got to do me a favor." I said, "I'm speaking at a quant conference. I don't know what to say to these people. That's like ice and water and water and ice. I don't know, He said, "No worries." He said, I'll split the hour with you." So I'm up there talking about technical analysis. And I said to the audience, I said, I flew up from New York. It's about an hour flight, uneventful flight, but it took me 40 years to get here. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I said, "Where have you been? You quantitative analysts you really don't warm up to us technicians." And with that, Andy Lowe was coming into the room. By the way, he's an excellent, excellent speaker. And he has a Playboy magazine in his hand. You remember the Playboy magazine? Yeah. And he's waving the Playboy magazine at the audience. He said, "Technical analysis is like this magazine. I don't read the articles, I just look at the pictures." And everybody laughed. And after it was all over, the crowd comes up. And what was thought to be just a small dinner meeting, it turned out to a huge, they had to get a big hall for this meeting. And as one guy said, he said, to meet one of the premier teachers of finance here, talking about a subject that he loves, and Andy Lowe in the academic world was like the market technicians in the financial world. He was pushing the academic approval of the subject, and here I was trying to get the people in the industry to use it. And it was a perfect match. And this fellow said to me, how can I not come to this dinner when I meet the guy in Wall Street and the guy in academia talking about the subject? I thought that was wonderful. By the way, notice the headlines here. Technical and quantitative analysis. Innocent flirtation or potential serious relationship? Question mark? That's what my firm put out. Well, maybe it's just a joke. Or is it serious? Well, you got to believe it was very serious as far as I was concerned. And so Andy was concerned. By the way, I should keep him a call one of these fine days, see how he's doing.